you were my first ever video interview.
Was I?
Yeah.
When was that?
It was Halloween, a Fight Star gig at Shepherd's Bush Empire.
yeah.
And I ate a tarantula.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and you didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Of course.
You ate a tarantula?
Yeah.
I think I remember, yeah.
Oh, stupid girl.
There are too many people in this world that understand their names. Well, how am I supposed to know where to run and how knows the blame?
I'm here at the Islington Assembly Hall with Charlie Simpson. Final night of tour.
Yes,
How are you
indeed.
feeling?
Feeling very good. It's been a really, really great tour. It's been a bit different because we've done this show quite stripped back, so there's not a full band. It's just me and a couple of other guys. Just kind of taking it back to basics with regards to the songs, and the reaction's been amazing. So I've loved it.
Was it quite daunting at first? Because that's quite scary, isn't it, being out there on your own?
It was, and it's the first time I've ever done that. It's the first time I've ever sort of just been up on stage by myself. So first we started over in Dublin, and it's the first time I've been properly nervous for years. Do you know what I mean? But I sort of got into it quite quickly, and now I'm loving it.
You're in the swing of it now.
Yes.
Now it's come to an end.
Exactly.
You're like, oh, great.
Just when you get, primed, it's time to finish. But it's good, man. We'll definitely go out and do some more shows like this, I think, maybe later in the year.
That's good. And now, when you're on stage on your own, like you say, do you have those moments where things like it going technically wrong, where you usually look at someone else and go, and then you're on your own, you're like, what do I do now?
Yeah, I do. I've got a great guy called John who looks after me, and he'll come and sort things out when things go wrong. But it's but it's difficult when something goes wrong technically. But there's nothing you can do about it. And I learned quite early on, sort of in my music career, that those things can't be helped. And I think sometimes the crowd just find it funny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If your guitar just goes off or the mic stops working, and you just got to take it in your stride a bit, really.
Just go with it.
Just go with it, yeah. I don't think you can be phased, because otherwise you'll just get yourself in a panic. And there's not much that can't be overcome within a few minutes.
I think of you as a bit of a risk taker and a bit gutsy with some of your career decisions along the way. Do you see yourself as that sort of person?
In life, not so much. But I think with my music, I never really see it as taking a risk. I kind of just go with what I feel is right for me, and I just do what's true to me. So I just in life, I'm not that much of a risk taker. I'm not like a crazy, sort of crazy guy that will do silly things. But I sort of just go wherever life takes me,
Now with the latest album, I know it didn't come easy to you. You had writer's blocks. So what do you do in that circumstance? Do you go for walks? Do you watch films and try and get inspiration that way? What do you do?
Films is always a good one. I've actually written a few songs immediately after watching films. After I watched The Green Mile, and then wrote the track All at Once, which was on my first record. Dead Man Walking I watched, and then that really inspired me to go and write a track. So Shawshank Redemption, I think it's happened with.
Good films.
Yeah. I mean, quite powerful, hard-hitting films. But yeah, I love films, so I take a lot of inspiration from that. With this record, it wasn't that easy, because I was just feeling a bit. I was just feeling a bit sort of burnt out, and I felt like I had to take a step back and to stop writing completely. And I went over to the States and toured there on the Warped Tour, Vans Warped Tour, for a couple of months. And that was just a really great summer, and I just had a great time and just sort of forgot about the record for a while. And when I got back, that sort of excitement and spark had really come back to me, and then it was easy. I think you've just got to be, you've just got to be excited and really in the mindset for writing. And I think if you're not, then I think you just need to take a step back, and it worked well for me.
You know how footballers are apparently nightmares when they're not scoring goals. What are you like when things aren't flowing? Are you like ratty and really grumpy, or do you just get on with it?
Yeah, I kind of get on with it. I don't really get grumpy. I just get anxious, really, because when you're being creative, it can be quite unnerving when things aren't going the way you want. But yeah, man, you just get on with it, and it'll come at some point.
Now, you talked about the Warped Tour, and most bands I speak to go, oh my God, it was intense, it was too hot, it was like a slog, but you seem kind of quite positive.
I tell you why, because I was on the acoustic stage, and so I only really had an acoustic guitar to carry around, and it was very, very easy. You know, that's why it felt like just summer camp for me. Do you know what I mean? With bands, you know, where they've got their full setups and it's pretty intense.
Yeah.
But I found it just awesome. You know, I really enjoyed it.
And you don't have to like be really energetic on stage and like throw your head out.
Exactly. I mean, it is really hot. I remember being in Texas, and it was just sweltering heat, just unbelievable heat. But again, I was playing in a enclosed stage, so I wasn't
Spoiled rotten, weren't you?
Yeah. But it was great, man, and I really enjoyed being over in the States. But it's a great tour. You know, I remember growing up and listening to the sort of compilation disc they used to put out every year, and I actually found a lot of my favourite bands that way. So it's a really great institution, and I was very pleased to do it.
Would you do it again if you were asked again?
Yeah, definitely, man, definitely.
So if you're watching.
Yeah. I got on well with everyone, and there was a real sort of mix of great English bands of the year I did it. Bring Me the Horizon were playing, While She Sleeps, Architects, and we just all kind of hang out together. So it was like an English posse, just having fun together, and it was great.
Can you do some water sports or something? I'm sure I saw on Ollie's Instagram or something.
I went on stage with Bring Me, and they sent me around the crowd in a little inflatable boat, and I had a race with Jordan, the keyboardist. Yeah. So he basically put us both in boats, and then we literally had a race of who could get around the crowd the quickest.
Who won?
I think he just won. But it was so much fun. I think there's a video on YouTube somewhere of that.
Yeah, there always will be.
Anything you do in life now will end up on YouTube.
Talking about YouTube, have you got any tips from Emma while you've been on tour? Because she's obviously a guru when it comes to all that sort of stuff.
It's funny, man, because the YouTube generation, it's still kind of new to me. Do you know what I mean? Like when I started in the music industry, YouTube didn't even exist. You know, Facebook didn't exist, Twitter didn't exist. So I kind of had to adapt to it, and it's become so big now and such a sort of integral part of the music industry.
Terrifying, really.
Yeah, it is. It's strange, and when you speak to kids today, you know, they don't know life without it. So it's almost like for us and our parents not having mobile phones. You think, how could you not have had mobile phones? But it's obviously it's a huge thing now, and you need to embrace it really. And it's good. I mean, the great thing about it, especially with Twitter, is that you have immediate access to your fans, and you can see what they're saying. And there wasn't really a platform apart from sort of forums on your website. You didn't have that direct link to the fan base, so I think it's all good.
I do kind of miss the mystery we used to have with rock stars and stuff there a little bit.
Simon from Biffy said that the other day. He was like, there was just a sort of, as you say, a mystery and a mystique behind the industry, and that curtain's kind of taken down. But in a way, that's good, I think, you know, because it brings you closer to the fans. But I kind of liked that, you know, back in the day, just not really knowing much about what was going on in the sort of personal lives of the people that you were fans of.
And you could kind of imagine the stories that were going on.
And usually it's not as interesting as you think that it is.
As we can see from this dressing room here.
Exactly.
Carrot sticks.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny, man. I remember going to festivals, going to Reading Festival when I was younger and watching and thinking, I wonder what's behind the stage. But it's a magical land of unicorns and stuff, and it's just a few trailers with not much else going on to it.
And a few awkward chats.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about working with Steve Osborne, because he's made some of my favourite albums of all time, and I hear the catering is really good at his studio in Bath.
Yeah, so it's Peter Gabriel's studio. It's called Real World, and it's one of the best studios I've seen. Bath is a beautiful place anyway. So yeah, the food down there, they've got a French chef who's incredible.
Is it Jerome?
Jerome, yeah. And so we lived very well, and Steve's great, man. He taught me a lot about recording. He's done some of my favourite records as well, and that's one of the reasons I sort of decided to work with him. And we wanted to do the record in a much more live environment, because I wanted to capture some of the sounds that some of my favourite 70s records have, and the only way you can really do that is to set up and play as a band, because on my first record, Young Pilgrim, I did most of the instruments myself. So it was a slightly different feel, and as I say, to get that live sound, you really just need to set up in a room and go for it.
Do you feel the pressure to like be really good musically?
Yeah, but I think that's almost the point. Do you know what I mean? Like there's too much recording these days where you can get away with not committing to stuff and not
tweak.
Yeah, tweaks here and tweaks there. Whereas when you're playing it live, you have to commit, you have to be prepared, you have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why those records sound so good back then, because everyone just nailed it. Because there wasn't any other option. Do you know what I mean? You either could do it or you couldn't. Whereas now you could do all sorts of things.
Have you kept in some of the imperfections that you actually thought, actually, that's quite nice, I'll keep that?
And I love that stuff, man. That's what gives albums their sort of identity and their soul, really. Do you know what I mean? Because if it's all just polished and perfect. I mean, I slightly would disagree with when it comes to heavy rock music, sort of metal music. You sort of want there to be a quite polished sound sometimes, but with the music I'm making, it's part of what makes it good is the imperfections, I think.
Like the fingers on the fretboard and the breaths. And
all that stuff, man. It makes it real.
Yeah, definitely.
I totally agree with you.
Good. Well, that's nice, isn't it? Now, you said you're interested in films, and I wondered if you got the opportunity to perform at the Oscars or win a Grammy, what would you pick?
Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. I would have to be win a Grammy just because Grammys are based around music, but to perform at the Oscars would be unbelievable. Yeah, because also it would be a completely different environment that you're used to. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, I'm a huge fan of film, so that would be. I mean, I guess my best thing would be to win a Grammy and then win an Oscar for a film score.
Which may happen.
Which you can do. You could do both those things. I think Trent Reznor might hold that accolade, which is pretty awesome.
Sickeningly talented that guy.
Yeah. His film scores are incredible, man. I remember seeing the Social Network, and he did Gone Girl as well, didn't he? Very good.
What are your tips for the Oscars? Have you been watching all the films?
I basically every year I try and watch all the films nominated before the Oscars. Because I've been on tour, I haven't actually been able to get through them all. I saw Whiplash, which I thought was amazing. Theory of Everything is incredible. I'm really keen to see Boyhood, and I hear American Sniper is very good as well. But I mean, for me, the tip for the Oscars is J.K. Simmons got to be Best Supporting Actor, because that performance
terrifying.
He's terrifying and just unbelievable. And then I think Eddie Redmayne, it's a superb performance. But as a film, I've been hearing such good things about Boyhood, and the fact that it was filmed over 15 years is an incredible feat of filmmaking and a first. So, I hope that does well as well.
Yeah, I'd definitely recommend that one.
Yeah, you've seen it?
Yeah,
great.
Very good. Right, I have to ask a McBusted question, because otherwise I'm not doing my job, apparently.
That's right.
So, if they came to you in a few years and said, just a Busted reunion, we'll get great stage and we just want you to come on and do one track, do you think you'd do it?
No, to be honest, they're loving what they're doing, and I'm loving what I'm doing, so it's just...
No need.
Yeah, it's all good, man. I mean, as I say, I've made... It's been nice that us three have got so closer since this has happened, because I went for a long period without actually speaking to them. And I speak to them much more regularly now. And everyone's just having a great time, and it's all good, man.
All in a good place, where it's meant to be.
Exactly.
Yeah. Now, plans for the rest of the year, festivals, can you reveal anything yet?
I can't, I'm afraid.
Oh, no.
I can't. There are some festivals in the pipeline. Also going to be doing some stuff with Fight Star, because we've got some Fight Star shows at the end of February. So, it's going to be probably a few festivals of both things, which is exciting, doing it just completely different things, but I love doing them both, so.
Good. And now, when the tour stops tonight, what will you be doing tomorrow? Would you just be sleeping all day?
Probably quite hungover tomorrow, I would have thought. I always like to have the last day of tour, the day after the last day of tour, just a chill day. Yeah. And I've actually got quite a lot of stuff to do towards the end of the week. But just chill tomorrow. I haven't been at home. I mean, I spent Christmas in Kenya with my wife's family, because they live over in Kenya. Nice. And then... I've just been really busy ever since, and came back to England and was straight out on tour. So I feel like I haven't taken a moment just to appreciate the start of 2015. I mean, I've had an amazing start to 2015, but it's all been a bit of a blur, to be honest.
It's gone quickly, hasn't it?
I mean, we're
scary.
Nearly in halfway through February. Yeah. Crazy. It is scary. Yeah. But it's going to be a good year, I think. I've got a lot of cool stuff lined up. So I'm very excited.
Just one question, because I forgot to ask it earlier. You really love the West Coast kind of California sound.
Yeah, Canyon kind of stuff.
Yeah, so why didn't you go to maybe LA to record? Why was that not?
I'll tell you why. We did think about doing that, but because my influences are, a lot of them are sort of set in that region, I still wanted to have English roots to the record. I didn't want to just go over and the record to sound totally American, because I am English. So it was important to me that actually we did it in England, and I had an English producer. and sort of marry the two things together.
And LA can be quite distracting, I imagine.
I've made a record in LA before. The second Fight Star record was made up in Van Nuys, and I loved it. But to be honest, I do love LA, but after being there for too long, I go a bit crazy, and I want to come back to London. I'm a real English boy at heart.
There's nothing like London, is there?
Yeah, there is. It really is, I think, the best place in the world.
Oh, that's a nice way to end, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, have a great show
Thank you so
tonight.
much.
Nice to see you.
I'm going to be a dad for the first time, so it's about the time where other babies start hearing stuff. So I'm going to send this out to him actually. He tried to do more of me.